Welcome to another episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill-Staxx, and today I got Andrew D. Donato. Used to be around with crazy dudes, used to do crazy things himself, and we're going to get into some of the situations that he dealt with when he was on the streets. What's going on, Andrew?
Nothing much, brother. Slow motion. How about yourself? How's everything?
I'm doing great, man.
I'm glad.
Just trudging along, man, trying to make things work.
That's all you could do, brother. Take it day by day.
Yeah, man. You were involved with some pretty heavy people, man, in the streets. And I want to talk about real quick what happened when you were on the run and you were robbing banks. Like, what was the process to you running in there, jumping over, grabbing the money, and like, what did you do with the money? I want to know all that.
Well, back then, like you said, I was on the run. I was wanted from law enforcement. I had the federal government looking for me. I had New York State parole looking for me. At that time, I was doing a lot of stuff on the street. I had a problem with another crime family. There was a lot going on in my life at the time, and all of it was negative. There was nothing really good going on. So as anybody who's ever been on the run, it's like the most stressful part of your life. Like, somebody asked me to describe it one day. I said, listen, take the worst day you've ever had in your life and times that by 1,000,000. And that's life on the run every day, worrying about if you're going to get pinched, if anybody's seeing you, if anybody recognizes you. Every time you see a car pull up, you see somebody, you think it's the cops or somebody coming to get you. Back then, money was a little tight at the time because when you're on the run, you're spending money daily, hotels, this, that, traveling. So I needed a way to earn. So at that particular time in my life, I had a few guys who, I was extorting money from, who were, they were dealing marijuana and dealing cocaine back then. And I was getting a little pay from them each week to keep me afloat.
How much money did you have when you went on the run? Did you have like a nice chunk, like before all this on the run
when I first
started?
went on the run, I had a decent amount of money. It's funny you said that. Is a few guys that I used to do bank burglaries with, the same exact day that I ran out of the parole office and went on the run officially, the night before they had touched down on a score, and I got a little bit of piece of the score, and it got me through. What happened was I met up with them about an hour or two before I went to the to go report to parole, and they hit me off with a few dollars. I walked into the parole office. There was another crew member of mine that was also on parole. He said he was downstairs in a luncheonette below the parole office in Staten Island. There was a little diner or something. I forget what it was. It was many years ago. And he said he heard these two agents downstairs talking about me, and they're going to come up and see my parole officer. Now, I'm locked in this room in parole, and anybody knows in parole, you got to get buzzed in or out. You're not just going to walk out the door.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to think about ways to get out now.
Someone else comes in.
Yeah, so what happened was the door buzzed open, and here comes the two agents. And the two agents both looked at me. They looked at each other, and they asked my parole officer. That's how I knew that something was wrong. Something, I was going to get violated. Something was happening. So, and I was doing so much back then. Who knows what it could have been? I had like a menu of things that they could have been there for. I didn't know.
You were already around Nicky Carrazzo and all these guys at that time, right?
Yeah. Of course, I was already on my first bid. Around, at that point, I was around Nicky when I was 17 years old. I was a baby around Nicky. So I was around Nicky a few years by then, and I had to figure out a way to get out of the parole office. So as soon as somebody else got buzzed in, I bum rushed the door. I ran down the stairs 4 or 5 at a time. I got out the bottom door. I got into a car and I drove away.
My man.
I had my lawyer reach out to the parole officer to see, what was pending. The parole officer played chicken to dummy and said, listen, he's got the rest of the day to come back, or he's violated 100%.
Was it new charges? Was it new charges, or was it just a violation?
No. They were investigating me for a double homicide. And what happened was, that's enough to get you violated and put on Rikers Island.
Of course.
Just for that. I mean, you don't even have to be found guilty or anything. They can just stop your clock right there.
Yeah, but you get a bond, right? Correct? In New York State. Do you get New York?
Years ago, you didn't get it. Like if you got a parole hold, you don't get, even if you got bail, you can't get bailed out until that parole hold is satisfied. You got to go in front of the parole officers, and they got to distinguish whether you violated or not.
That's how it is here too.
Yeah, exactly. So I took off, and I had my lawyer reach out to them, and they wouldn't give the information. And then, I started to get the word on the street, they were looking for me. So I had to lay low. And that's what started me now on the run. I couldn't go back home. I had a little bit of money in my pocket. I used it to start getting ahead. I started reaching out to these guys I was doing business with, get a little money every week, whatever. I went to San Diego. I was in Florida. I was everywhere. I was just
all cash, right? You were dealing all cash.
All cash. And it was easier to travel back then than it is today. We're talking about, what is it, like 1993, 94. It was 1994. Or 5, excuse me. It's 95. It was
so this is after Gotti went to jail. Did you had dealings with his brother or with his son, I mean?
No, well, his son, what happened was I just how it worked out is that I wound up testifying at the Gotti Jr. trial. Me and John Jr. didn't have no business together. I mean, I never seen that guy in the street. He was very insulated. He lived a very, very insulated life. Like, that guy wasn't in the street like I was. So, but the bottom line is that some of my testimony came in because one of his co-defendants was a crew member of mine. And so a lot of things I had to testify at that trial. And but it was a very stressful time back then, brother. I don't wish it on anybody. It really was. What else do you want to touch on today, kid? You got
So you jump over to your jump out of parole. You run out of parole.
Now I'm on the run. So what happens is now money starts getting tight. So when money starts getting tight, I got to figure out what I got to do or whatever. Just this little bit of money I'm getting from these guys every week is not enough. So I met up with a bunch of guys that I knew from the Genovese crew, older guys, nice guys. And they had a guy who they used to steal with who was dying of cancer. And they needed a guy. And I was talking with them, and they said, listen, why don't you come with us? Maybe you get off, and it could help you in your situation. They knew my situation, that I was on the run. So I jumped at the chance. So I started banging around with these guys twice a week. We would go sit on Brinks trucks. We would go sit on banks in different locations to see what was going to be good. One day we're sitting and we're having a conversation, and one of the guys that we stealing with, he's an old-time bank robber. This guy knew his shit. His name was Paulie, and Paulie was a good guy. And Paulie tells me, he goes, listen, he goes, I live in Jersey. He goes, there's a bank. He goes, about, I don't know, 3 minutes from my house. He goes, I do my bank in there. He goes, I notice every time that I'm in the bank cashing a check or something, he goes, I see the money truck come in. He goes, they come in and they leave the bags behind the counter. He goes, and the people don't check the bags. They don't put it in the vault. They don't do nothing. They get to it later on after, the crowd dies down in the bank. Whenever they get a chance to get around to it, he said they're very laxed. He goes, I sat there, I watched those bags sitting there for like 20, 30 minutes. So that's all we needed to hear, right? So what happened was we planned it. It was, I think it was Memorial Day weekend coming up. So we had to figure out that they load the ATM machines on the Thursday before the weekend. So we knew from other banks that we sat on that those ATMs would get double the attention. They would get double the money on a holiday weekend. Yeah. So what we did is we sat on the location, and we seen the truck come in. We seen the Brinks truck come up.
What time was this? What time was it in the afternoon?
This was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. I believe it was
a lot of people.
Yeah, it was Thursday afternoon. Regular crowd of people going shopping. Next door to the bank was a Wawa. They had a Wawa there. So it had normal foot traffic. So I sat at the end of the parking lot. I watched the guys unload the truck, and I seen that they were loading the money on a hand truck. So now you got some deep bags there. Thank God, right? So that the information is correct. So
that's what you need. What you're looking for.
What happened is the Brinks guys go in. They drop the bags off. As soon as they get into their truck, I get out of my car. I walk directly to the bank. I got a baseball hat, sunglasses on.
Do you have a gun?
Nope.
Do you have a gun?
But my partner did. I walk into the bank first, and then my partner came in about 5-10 seconds behind me. I walked directly to the counter, just jumped right over. I seen the bags sitting there. I grabbed the first 2 bags. I threw one over the counter towards my partner. I picked up the other 2 bags. And by that time, everybody's screaming in the bank. People are panicking.
What's your partner doing?
My partner is just standing there waiting to see if there's any good Samaritans, anybody who's looking to get involved.
Does he have a gun like this? Like one gun or 2?
He's got a gun. He's got a gun on his person, and he's just waiting to see what happens. He grabbed one of the bags. I grabbed the other 2 bags. I jump over the counter. The teller screams. She gets panicked, and then all of a sudden, here comes a good Samaritan running across the bank towards me, and didn't see my friend out of nowhere, clotheslined him, threw him a little bit. The guy went sliding across the floor, which we don't like to do. We're not there to hurt anybody. We're there just to get the money. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
what
happened was some lady was walking in the bank at the time, and when she walked in and seeing us, what was happening, she ran out of the bank screaming. So what happened was we ran out behind her, and then we ran around the bank. My friend was waiting in the back of the bank.
Was the car running?
Yeah,
the car was running. Yeah.
And he was in the back. We laid down in the back seat. He drove away. He's an old man. Nobody's going to look at him twice. He's by himself, whatever. So now on the police scanners, we hear the call go over, and we heard them say that a man and a woman robbed the bank because everybody seen the woman run out first.
Oh, man. So you came off on that one.
So we started laughing. So what happens is we drove to our friend's location. His house is like literally 3 minutes away. We got to his house. We went upstairs. He brought the bags up. After he brought the bags up, we sat there for a minute. We kept listening to the scanner. We knew that we got away with it for the moment. For the moment, we were good. So we sat back. We got relaxed. We ordered some food.
How many people are you with at this point?
At this point, there's me. It's the guy Tommy I was inside the bank with. Little Paulie, who was driving the car, and then we had a guy across the street, Joe, who was working the scanner, and he was our crash guy. And so there was the 4 of us. So we went, we sat, we had a little lunch. We decided to crack the bags open and see what we were dealing with. So we cracked the bags open, and one of the bags was just receipts. It was just 100% receipts. There was no cash in it.
All piled in there, all
just like receipts for the money.
Yeah.
The second bag was filled. It was filled with all bills. We had it filled with all different denominations, 100s, 50s, 20s, all different in the cellophane wrappers. And then the other bag, the same thing. You have to count.
How heavy was the bag?
The bag was pretty heavy, but your adrenaline is pumping pretty good. I got to be honest with you. So after all was said and done, we got close to like $500,000 on the score, give or take.